Welcome back to the Football Tragic. It's the two of us, myself and Morty. How you doing today, Morty? Big win for you guys this week.
Not too bad. Just hoping on tomorrow's morning. It's more important to us. So
yeah, well, we can get straight into it. Brighton 0, Liverpool 2. Thoughts on the game? Luis Diaz with that opening goal and then gets taken out. Gets taken out by semi-trailer at that point. What were your thoughts on that and the no red card decision to Robert Sanchez there?
Every time I see an incident like this, I just get taken back to Mane taking out Edison, and all of a sudden, Mane's eyes never left the ball. He still gets carded, and then every incident since, no one's been carded. So
I don't know what the go is here. If Diaz doesn't score here, it's a red card, yeah? Like, if it goes wide, it's a penalty red card. But the fact that he scores almost diminishes the fact that it's a red card.
But does it, though? Like,
it shouldn't.
But at that point now, the keeper can just go, well, might as well just take him out. Like, literally, like, at that point, because it's not like it's even close. Like, he didn't even get close. His leg was closer to anything, and it wasn't even. I don't know how to judge it. Like, they can't just a double-edged sword of a red card and a goal. Well, that's their own fault at the end of the day. Like, if you're, I don't know how to say it, because if Diaz goes down injured there too, we lose him for the game.
Yeah.
Just because he's scored doesn't make it right. Like, if Diaz went on to be out for 2 weeks after that, just one goal doesn't equate for that incident.
Well, was it a couple of years ago? That's what the rule they brought in. You can't, like, a penalty and a red card. It can't happen. It's like you get the yellow because the penalty's bad enough. But, like, it shouldn't matter. Especially this. He didn't even get a yellow card, did he? It's literally nothing.
He just got a goal conceded. But that's football. You concede. It doesn't avoid the fact. If I go and punch someone and then concede the goal anyway, does it not count there?
It's almost like, you're getting a free hit. Like, you gave away the goal, but you're getting a perfect chance to injure an attacking player.
Yeah.
Thankfully, Diaz was okay, I suppose. He's looking unreal, to say the least. Like, he has come in, he's just settled in perfectly to the Prem, really, and I suppose to Klopp's squad.
Yeah, well, he's just settled in. He's settled in quick. He's exactly what Liverpool buy, and it's just great to see. It's great to see it continuing on when, Firmino's pushing on and you've got Salah and Mane looking for their last big contract, I guess you'd say. Not their last. Like, they've still got plenty of years left, but this will be their contract that takes them to that older age. And Diaz is coming through with Jota. It's good signs ahead. We're still setting up, looking for more the future as well, not just implementing it now. So
yeah, well, you mentioned Salah. He's obviously scored. That was, it's a penalty, but at the end of the day, you got to score goals. His contract situation's a bit iffy. He wants to stay at the club. He doesn't feel he's getting paid what he wants to get, though. I think Liverpool will probably end up just coming up to what he's asking. I can't see them risking losing him. I think he's still your most important player. What are your thoughts on that?
100%. He's our most important player. I don't know. I can't. It worries me because FSG will just look at it and go, well, we give him the 4-year contract at X amount of dollars. That's a $90 million transfer that they could bring in, and the more money they make out of that. So, I don't know. I'll just keep buying his jersey and hopefully everyone does the same.
It's positive that you've got players like Diego Jota and Luis Diaz who have come in and settle in so easy. It makes it seem like if Salah was to leave for any reason, that you'd be like, you wouldn't be in a sticky situation. You've got Mane, who on his day is still very, very capable. So you'd still have quite a stacked front line.
But that's not the point. The point is to bring in the reinforcements because we are now competitive in every comp we're in. Previous to that, it was Klopp going, I don't care about the other piss cups, and we're just going here and we're just going there, and then you're limiting your success that year. And I think that they started to realise that they need some backup, and they've won the money to afford to do that. So I hope we don't get rid of him. But
well, look, back to the result at hand. 2-0 win. It was. They had a couple of decent chances there, Brighton, but you guys, for the most part, deserved the win. You were all over them by their few chances. keeps the pressure on City. You're 3 points behind them again. They play tomorrow morning. But yeah, it's just, I suppose it's just making City wonder if they slip up, you guys are right on their tail. So it's all you can ask for right now. You're in the title race, that's for sure. And yeah, there's not much more to say, really. Speaking of another 2-0 win now, it's Brentford over Burnley. It was a must-win game for Brentford, I think, to kind of stay out of that relegation fire. What are your thoughts on that?
Oh, it's great to see because, again, not Burnley's biggest fan, but Brentford, they're looking like they were at the start of the season. They look slightly more refreshed. They're just Tony's come back from his whatever happened in that a few months ago, and he's bagging some goals again. Ericsson, what more could you want from him? The bloke shining again in the Prem. It's just good to see. It's wholehearted football at its best, and just don't want to see them go down. And I don't think they will if they keep playing like that.
Yeah, I think that result just there could be enough to see them stay up. It puts them, just looking at the table now, like 8 points clear of the drop. So they're in better form now. Like you said, Ivan Toney's back and he's got 5 in his last 2 now. So he's back amongst the goals. Seems like that controversy about whatever he was saying on holiday has kind of escaped him for the most part. Burnley, on the other hand, do you think they've got 2 games in hand on a few of the teams, 3 on some others? Do you think that they can still stay up, or
no? Holding bar and Everton are looking just as shocking. But we sat there. We've sat there 6 weeks ago. Before we said Burnley have got these games in hand. They've played the easy games of those. They haven't got the points. They're still on 3 wins. Like Norwich have managed to muster up more wins than that. They can't keep playing for these draws. Those draws will take them. It wouldn't take them out because if Everton get one more draw too, then they're still above them. So I don't think it's going to work. I
agree with you. Draws aren't enough. Look, like you said, they're Everton and Watford are the 2 teams above them in 17th, 18th. But by that, like Leeds are another 5 points ahead of them. So draws aren't doing enough. They need a win to really then put the pressure on Everton Everton mostly because they're the only ones out of the drop currently. But we'll definitely get into them more in a bit. But firstly, we'll jump into the United-Tottenham game. Absolute cracker. We don't have Tony here. We don't have Campo here for this game. But what were your thoughts on, the Ronaldo hat-trick?
I predicted it right. Tony, shut up. Don't suck again. My hate for Spurs continues. This game, if you told me this was going to happen, I just go, yeah, that's a Maguire own goal. Tottenham screaming at Maguire, laughing in his face. Ronaldo scoring a hat trick. It just had a bit of everything. It was very Spursy. It was very United. I think Sancho's starting to get a roll on, I guess, if you say. But again, they're still conceded 2. They can't afford to keep Wan-Bissaka there. They can't afford Maguire there. Shaw, even, I don't know. Jose's been right. He's been 4 years, and Jose said all this stuff that they shine for a few minutes, and just get Jose back.
When you look at it, it's literally Ronaldo is saving them yet again, and this time it happened in the Prem. Usually it happened in the Champions League, but without Ronaldo, this would have been probably a loss for United. They still don't look amazing, I think. But single-handedly, Ronaldo, he turns up. He's got this magic. He went from 1 goal in his last 10 to scoring 3 against Spurs in this game. And some of them were absolute crackers. That first one was great. 3rd goal, the header, brilliant again. But yeah, Spurs, they're so inconsistent. It's not funny. They go and win 2, they lose. It's just, you don't know how to pick them. And you would have said that they were probably, had they've got a result here, better off than United going into, the stretch. But the 5 points now behind United with 2 games in hand. So there's just no guarantee that they're going to win both those games. One of them's the London Derby, we still know, which I think that one there is probably the most important match in the top 4 race because of Arsenal, obviously, as well, with their current record. But, I mean, Spurs are just so hit and miss, so inconsistent, but I think it's a massive result for United, and it kind of keeps them in that top four race. I know Tony's completely written them off, but do you think that they can still snag that fourth, or do you think that, I mean, it's only Ronaldo doing him, I suppose, getting him out of this rut temporarily?
I think the only way I see them finishing fourth is if we get into it, Chelsea have some more repercussions come across the club. But I think Arsenal that they're already ahead, and they've got the games in hand, and they've got the games in hand against the right teams that are holding them back. They're not against the lower. They still had a few lower league games, but they got the game against Spurs, and I think is it West Ham or Wolves. I think have another one with them. I see Arsenal going on with it. They've got the young. I mean, expectations for them was just, well, I guess Europe probably is their expectation, but I think they've got Europe, as in Europa.
Yep.
Conference don't really count, but top four, I think they're pretty much sold up there, and everyone else can be battling it out for that fifth spot. And I think it's just Tottenham history repeating itself again. They're going Conte will like Conte to go out, Conte to leave. Is it on the cards? Because
I think it's definitely on the cards. I could fully see him going to United because why not? I just don't see him having any success at Spurs, and he is bred to succeed, and I don't think Spurs can match that. Arsenal have, like they do. Obviously, we'll get into this later in the week, but they do have you guys on Thursday, and the form they're in, you could fully see them getting a result, some sort of result. But then you look at your guys' form as well, and you guys are. You're killing it as well. So that's Arsenal's tough test. They've had a pretty good run. I think Leicester was probably their toughest game in recent note, and they took care of them, which we'll get into in a little bit, obviously. But Arsenal, yeah, they're in the driver's seat, I think, bar obviously Chelsea, but they could catch us, which we'll move into this game now. It's Chelsea 1 over Newcastle. It took into the 88th minute for Kai Havertz to score the winner. It was a great goal. But there was some controversy in this game. I don't know. Did you happen to catch it?
I haven't seen it, but I have read the uproar on Twitter. And
look, I was talking to a Newcastle fan during the game. Trevor Chalobah brings down Murphy in the box, and at the time I thought he's gone down very soft. It's then, I mean, you look back at it more and more and you think, yep, it's a pen. So we got away with that. I don't think it really went to VAR, so I don't really know what the situation is there. And that's the hot topic, I suppose, the fact that VAR just is so inconsistent. And also Kai Havertz, I think it was earlier than that, went up for a header with Dan Burn, out jumps him, but also elbows him in the face. Again, you've seen them given. I think he got a yellow card. I don't think he got a yellow card. I'm not too sure. But those are two decisions that could have gone against us. Thankfully for me, look, I'm just speaking bias here. I mean, you're glad they didn't go against us. And, yeah, it took until the 88th minute. But against a Newcastle team who's been, they're unbeaten in 9 or 11 or something. So in good form to take a 1-0 win here when you've got the likes of Arsenal creeping on your neck, it's a massive result. I suppose surrounding the controversy around the game as well. What are your thoughts on, Chelsea as a whole picking up these results still amid all the controversy?
I don't think you should have any reason to not be, because at this current point, you haven't had any loss of your players are still there. They're still getting paid for now, and they're still paid to do their contract. Whatever they may be, your job is to do your job until the time says that you're not, and they're paid at the moment to do what they're doing, and their squad and squad depth should be getting this win over Newcastle hands down. And in saying that, though, Newcastle, as relegation bound as they were, they are game in hand win away from cracking into top 10, sorry, not top 4. That's a bit of a top 10, the top half of the table, I meant.
Yeah.
So just shows you how quickly things can change in this league, and it's why we love it, and it's why no matter what happens, still get down. And all these summer transfers that happened with all the catch-up games just leads to more and more controversy. because I guarantee you someone's going to go down and someone's going to silk about their transfers. They're having to play their games before transfers coming in, so but we'll see.
Yeah, look, like you said, they are only, not too far behind Southampton in 10th. They're on 35, Newcastle on 31 with the game in hand. They win that and they go close. So I can't believe that this team that was so bound for relegation before the transfer window, and all of a sudden, I know they've spent a lot of money, but Eddie Howe has got them out of the hot water as well, and they could be on for a top half finish. I mean, you take that as a Newcastle fan for sure. They're going to stay up at this point. You can't see them going down. Their form is too hot right now. I don't think this loss really means anything for their season. I think, yes, you want a result against Chelsea in this game, but a Newcastle fan realistically probably says away at Stamford Bridge, we don't need this result as much as others. I think they're well and clear out of this relegation fight. I think 9 points clear. But the way they're going right now, they're definitely on for the top half finish, and I can fully see it happening.
Yeah, I can see the same things. Yeah.
Another team who they were in must-win right now. It is Leeds 2-1 over Norwich. Have you watched the highlights of this game?
I have.
Because it was just mental. How Leeds weren't 3 or 4-0 up within half an hour is beyond me. And then they almost go and let it slip to then go and win it in the 94th, 95th minute. I mean, absolute scenes. What were your thoughts on the game?
Do you expect anything else from Leeds? Because they've shown that they can attack, they can get all the chances in the world. They'll miss him, they'll hit him, they'll whatever it may be. And Norwich, they did their absolute best to muster up one, and they thought they got it. And Rafinha, 94th minute, gets it done, puts it across, and they put it away. So still worrying signs for Leeds. It's a 2-1 against Norwich. They should have been putting him to the sword. It should be 3-4-0. They should have been aiming for a clean sheet. If any team's going to give them a clean sheet, this is the team to get some confidence off. And it's just another game that proves to me if they lose Rafinha, they're in my relegation-bound team next season. So
yeah. No, I agree with you. It is worrying because, like you said, a game where it should have been 3 or 4-0 is all of a sudden 1-0 going into the 94th minute, and they're just rescued at that point. Rafinha's done brilliant to get that back across and for them to win the game, but so easy it could have finished a 1-1 draw, and that's just not good enough. However, they did get the job done. That's what we've got to take out of this. The 4 points clear of relegation currently, but they're not out of it, that's for sure. And we'll obviously get into results elsewhere. But Watford, they picked up a win against the Southampton. Like, these teams around them are still picking up results. Had Watford have lost their game, then you'd say Leeds could be out of the relegation scrap just. But for now, good win, but against Norwich, it's not. They're already down at this point. Norwich they shouldn't be far from mathematically being down. I think they're probably like 4 games away from mathematically going down. So we'll wait to see if Leeds can crack on. It's their first win under the new manager, but time will tell. Speaking of another team that could well and truly be going down, you'd love to see it. It's Everton 1-0 defeat at home to Wolves. What were your thoughts on this game?
Agent Rafa has done an absolute madness for this club. He can come into the history books even further if he managed to get Everton relegated, because my lord, they are in some trouble and they are still waiting on some sanctions to come. I don't think they've even logged their finances yet. They are still. I don't know where they turn from now.
Yeah, what do you think is going wrong at Everton right now? It was Lampard. Obviously, I'm a fan of Lampard. As a manager, he might not be cut out for it. But is it his fault they're not back on good terms, or is it a job too much for him? Is it just Everton as a whole right now is just in the mud? Like, what is it?
They just, don't get me wrong, Everton aren't a small club, but the signings they've made on the transfers, they're like, I wouldn't say big club signings, but they've forced them and made them happen, as in big club signings, like signing, Sigurdsson, barring whatever's happened, that as on the day they signed him for like 45, I think it was.
Yeah.
That's not a signing that a club like Everton should be making for at his age, especially. Like they signed Luca Dean, they signed Gomez from Barca. They overpaid dramatically from those ones. Don't get me wrong, they're not bad players, they're not terrible, but they're not the players that Everton needed. They needed some squad depth. They needed the backups to come through, because you see Everton, they get decimated by a few injuries, and there's no one left on the park. Like Calvert-Lewin wasn't anything special. Was basically a backup striker. And they bring him in, and they had to turn him into who he was, and he done it for one season, and he's been shocking. He's been shocking since. Richarlison's probably their only shining light, and even he's not, a Mane for Southampton. Like, he's not that tier above that they act like he is. So,
well,
there's
you mentioned Luca Dean. They were obviously, Villa came in for him, got him. I think that situation only happened because of his relationship with Rafa at the time. He's a player that an Everton shouldn't be losing. He should be a focal point. What do you make of their signings like Dele Alli and Van der Beek? You mentioned it. The Van der Beek had one good game, and then I think Tony said it as well. Like one or two good games, then bam, he's back to an average player. Are they the kind of signings that you look at and think it's not good enough?
But again, I think Dean was also sold that they can't afford his wage. They're genuinely scraping the line of fair play, that they are on struggle street. Like, they've signed the two players, and I genuinely think they're not getting played so they don't reach their 20 games obligation to sign, because I don't know what they turn to. They don't have people coming off contract. They don't have nothing. If they fall to the Championship, my lord, they'll end up like Sunderland, because they've got wages to get off the books. They've got to then reset, bring in new people to get them back up. Like that's a 10-year turnaround for Everton. The way they are, they'll lose financial backing. They'll lose the money coming through the club.
Yeah, there's definitely two ways they could go. They could be a Sunderland. They could fall further off the tree, or they could be a Newcastle and come straight back up. We don't know. Realistically speaking, and obviously you want to see it happen, with their 3 games in hand on both Watford below them, same points, and Leeds above them with 4 points difference, will they go down? Or is there some way they can turn it around?
Up until last week, I thought they might have probably not too hard, but they'll get out a few draws and thing. But then Watford go and win. Yeah. And again, if Watford pull off a draw against Everton, then they're back again in struggle street, because, oh shit, you look at Everton's next 5 games.
Yeah, and I was just doing the same.
Newcastle, West Ham, United, Liverpool, Chelsea. That is.
You go further than that. Leicester and then Arsenal to finish the season. The only, I suppose, you want to say winnable games in there. They've got a Watford postponed game they've got to play, which that's a 6-pointer. That could be a bloody 9-pointer. That's literally the game, I think. But then they've got a Palace. They could get a result there, and a Brentford. But all those other games, maybe Leicester, that they're losing those games. They should be losing those games. So realistically, they should only be getting 6 to 8 more points, I think.
Well, and the problem is they'll face a Watford at the time, who Watford could be in the position to go, let's get a draw here. We do not care. We're not giving you points. I don't need the points. Yep. 1-1 draw takes that chance away from them, because Watford have Leeds, Brentford, and Burnley coming up in the next 5. They're all possible points. 1, 3. If they take 4 points from that, I think Everton are done. Yep. That could be the nail in the coffin.
Yeah, speaking obviously about Lampard, I want to see them stay up purely for him, because I think that if he couldn't save them, I'm not saying he's his holy grail manager, but if he couldn't do something there, his career is almost done as a manager. He'd have to start all over. Everton, like you said, are in for a rough few years unless they can just come straight back up. But you can't see it happening with the players that lose. But yeah, Watford, I think now are still in the driving seat because of that. We speak about those upcoming fixtures. They've got a lot of easy fixtures, and an Everton team who have probably the hardest out of a lot. So worrying times for Everton. and they need to get a result here or there just to turn it around. But it's not looking likely, that's for sure. All right, West Ham 2, Villa 1. The talking point, I suppose, Yarmolenko scoring, well, the first goal, but you want to say the winner. Emotional scenes there, scoring. I mean, he's from Ukraine, but it's good to see, I suppose, still playing. I suppose all these Ukraine guys still playing amidst the war that's going on. But West Ham still keeping their charge for that top four, really. They're still only 3 points behind Arsenal.
Yeah. Well, I think they're keeping it on, and I think West Ham, I think they've got to wait for things to go their way with some other results, but they can't just do it on their own accord. But they've done amazing this season, considering I think I had them in the bottom half of the table. They didn't look like they'd strengthened very well, but props to them. They're making it work, and they're finally living up to some of that West Ham potential that we all knew they had.
Yeah, I think it's similar to Leicester of a few years past, where you kind of just expect them to fall off and go back into the middle of the table. But they're chirping there. They're staying on, and they're really making it tough for your Arsenal, Uniteds, and your Spurs, I suppose, for that fight for top four. They're still in Europe. They're trailing 1-0 to Sevilla, but that can easily be turned around as well back at home. So it's an amazing season, and I think they've recruited quite well. And I think it just shows signs that they're really trying to break into that. I suppose the Leicesters and the Wolves, where you're not quite in that top 6, but you're creeping there. And if you keep performing better than those other teams, then you can be class. You can, I suppose, eliminate a Spurs or an Arsenal out of that top 6, and you can then become that team.
They're pushing to be one of those. I wouldn't say yo-yos, but one of those things that bounce in and out of that top 6 race, and they're looking like they could hold on to it and probably push Spurs out, going away some things are going. So,
well, it was only been 2 or 3 seasons ago where they were in Everton's situation, where they were close to the drop. And so they've turned it around in just a couple of years. So it's good to see. Villa, I think that at this point they're just fighting to be that team that finishes top out of the bottom half. I suppose they just want to wrap up that 9th spot. I think
so. I think they're doing what they can. They're trying to just try some new things, make some things work, and getting the results when needed, and probably looking more toward next year and going, what do we really need to make sure this team can do what we expected of them this year?
Well, with Gerrard at the helm, like we said, they've taken Luca Dean off Everton. They've signed Coutinho on loan, but that's probably going to be a permanent at this stage. 40 million looks like a bargain for him.
Depends on his wage, though.
It does, but it looks like he's cut out for the Prem. It's just one of those standard Prem players who just kills it. Jacob Ramsey coming in has been a revelation this season, so Gerrard's doing well with them, and I suppose it's just getting him ready, I suppose, for that Liverpool job in a few years' time when Klopp hangs up the boots.
It'll be a tough battle because I think Klopp's Pep. I don't know how he's Linders, whatever name. He's backed him to the house to be confident that he could take over or whatnot. But I don't know. He's doing all the things right. He's done it the right way. He's done it as best as he can, and he's doing wonders with Villa from where they were. And maybe he has one more club in between, but fully see him being our next manager.
Yeah, spot on. Moving into the penultimate game, and we've spoken a bit about Watford already, but 2-1 win over Southampton away from home. It's just a shock in the relegation fight, isn't it? Because you probably look at this game on paper and think that this is a Southampton win, and then all of a sudden it's not. Watford then go and win, and now they're on equal points with Everton. What were your thoughts on the game? Southampton have been poor as of late, after going however many games it was in a row, winning really good form, to now suddenly losing 3 on the trot.
Yep, exactly. And I think it's that time of the season where things start just to happen, and results that we all think would go one way go flip, and everything changes within a few weeks. Like if you looked at the table 2 weeks ago, you're going, Watford, they're pretty much calculated mathematically. They're almost down, and a few results and a few teams scrapping away, and we're back here. And Southampton just 3 on the trot. Don't know. They're just not I don't know what it is, because they can do some things right, and then they come up and throw this up. They come up and throw results up. Like, at least they haven't lost 7-0 this season, like last season, or 8-0 or not, whatever it ended up being twice. You could fully see it in the form they are, someone coming and doing it. So we'll wait and see.
Well, I mean, we spoke only a few weeks ago, I suppose, when they were in that great form, Southampton, about them. They could be pushing for that final Conference League spot. But, I mean, it's done now. I think they're now fighting with Villa to be that, kind of just end the season on a positive note, be that top finish out of the bottom half of the table, and just kind of, I suppose, build for next season. It'll be interesting to see when the likes of what looks like Armando Broja will be back at Chelsea next year, given our situation. Can't actually sell him. That'll be a big loss for them, because I think they would have liked to be able to keep him, although it would probably cost a fortune to sign him. But, I mean, again, I like what Ralph's doing there. It's 3 on the trot's not great, but I think it's just one of those things. I think we spoke last week where it just seems to be his style. He will put together some great results, and all of a sudden, bam, he loses. In terms of Watford, though, it's just the standard when a team's fighting relegation towards the end of the season, they turn into an absolute European powerhouse that could go and knock off Real Madrid. Like, you don't know what to expect when you come up against a Watford who need result more than you need it.
Exactly, and it's probably about the start of the season when they beat Liverpool that time. So
Yep.
They can do it. I know they can do it, and yeah, it'll be interesting times ahead for Watford, because I think if they get their results themselves, they can do it. They don't have to worry about other teams around them faulting, which some they might. But if Watford just go ahead and work out their points, I think they'll scrap in there. But back to Southampton, games in hand, they could be down 13th, 14th with some results, because Leicester have got a few in hand, and Palace and Brighton and Newcastle have all got games.
Yep.
So, yeah, another season, another fall from Southampton. So, great to see.
All right, well, to the top half of the table now, looking at the form that all these, I suppose, 1 to 4 are in, it's Arsenal in that 4th spot, and they're in bloody good form. The likes of Chelsea, Liverpool, and City. I mean, they're matching their form. I think they're probably only behind you guys for the best form of 2022. And that's just what's putting them well and truly above the likes of United, West Ham, Wolves, and Spurs in that top 4 race. 2-0 win at home to Leicester. You'd have to say top 4 and 4th spot is theirs at this point.
Yeah, well, their form is matching that of Liverpool and Chelsea. Like, Liverpool are 8 on the trot, but Chelsea and Arsenal, they're 5 on the trot each, and look around them and no one else is doing anything similar. So, yeah, from the bloke we thought was getting rid of to all or nothing, Arsenal is shaping up to be one of the great successes since City, because nothing else has gone that way for them. So I think they've broken the curse.
Yeah, I mean, they've got 2 games in hand on Chelsea, so win those 2, and they're 2 points behind us. So they're creeping down our necks in 3rd, and that'd be a bloody good finish for Arsenal. I do think we're good enough to still finish 3rd, but Arsenal, it's 3 games in hand on United, West Ham, Wolves, and I think 1 game in hand on Spurs. So they're there to get that top 4. They're there to get Champions League football again. Arteta's got them playing brilliantly. Aaron Ramsdale, who we're all slagging off at the beginning of the season, saying stupid transfer, is one of the best transfers of the season, because he is single-handedly winning them results. And it's just, I suppose, is it just a show of what can happen when you trust a manager?
I think so, and I think it's just showing how to I wouldn't say a rebuild, because you can't say Arsenal rebuilding, but getting a club back on track. They haven't gone out and signed that star sign. I think they learnt their lesson with Pepe, but even he wasn't that. That was just with the times the transfer fees were going that high. Everyone was signing players around that mark. They've gone back, reassessed, and gone, we need this, we need that. They've signed this one for 25. They signed that one for 20. They signed their goalkeeper for 40, whatever it was. And don't get me wrong, Ramsdale wasn't a bad keeper. We just thought that they needed in other positions a bit more than what they did, and they're now shaping up for the future. They got one of the youngest squads coming through and exponential potential coming out of it. So
yeah,
I think Arsenal are starting to do it right, and they're learning. So good on them.
Yeah, they're definitely back on track as a club, because if they get Champions League football, they can then go and spend the money on that big striker they need to fill Aubameyang's boots. And that's really the final piece of the puzzle, I think, for them. They've recruited well defensively. Ben White, what was he, 50 million? But him and Ramsdale together, keeping clean sheets for fun. Odegaard looks brilliant. He's, matching the form of Saka and Emil Smith-Rowe. 30 million doesn't seem too bad for him. So they've done it, and I think they're well and truly back on it as a club. But they need to make sure they get that Champions League spot. But I think they are in the driver's seat to do it. Leicester, on the other hand, not too much to add for them. It's a poor season, and I think it probably could be enough to see Rodgers go, like you've predicted for, I think, ever since we started the pod, which would have been 3 years ago. So finally that one could come to fruition. But they could potentially win the Europa Conference League. We don't know. They're in it. They're flying. But I don't think, again, that's really much to say about their season. I think that's probably their way into Europe, though, isn't it? Because you get Europa League at that point, don't you, if you win that? So
I don't actually think. I don't even know if they. I think, do they go into that
Europa? I think so. I don't know. We don't know. It's a new tournament, but it is a poor season for Leicester. And again, we speak about they're going to fight the Villa, Southampton, Palace for that for that spot just outside of Europe. Final game of the round, which we haven't. Well, we're not going to be able to cover, but I wanted to quickly get your prediction for it. It's City's bogey team. It's Palace at home to City. Do you see an upset here? You obviously want the upset, and it keeps you 3 points behind if you do. But can it happen?
Do they have is? Wait, let me check. Hold on. No, that was a lie. I can fully see a draw happening. It's gonna be a shit house. It's gonna be crap. But I see something at some point, and traditionally it's been Palace that have done it. That I think on their day, Palace, rightfully so, can trouble the best of them. But Palace haven't really been at that level since, and I think this is one of those games where City rock up going, yep, we're looking forward still, but this is kind of one of the easy ones. And my bias is telling me 1-1. I can't see City actually losing this game, but in reality, I still expect City 3-0, 3-1 even, but 1-1 draw. I can sit here and hope.
Yeah, obviously you're definitely hoping, but I think given the fact that they went out and thumped United, should be enough to keep the momentum going. They're through to the next round of the Champions League. They can relax for a little bit there. It should be job done for City. It should be easy for them, but Palace, we all know, is their boat team as of late. So it'll be an interesting one. They'll heat up the transfer race, the title race completely. But we'll wait to see that result in our preview. Thanks for joining me, Morty. Hopefully we'll get the other boys on for the preview later in the week, and we'll see you then.